This PowerPoint looks at kindergarten readiness assessments. It is important to evaluate preschool experiences in order to ensure that our students are ready to enter kindergarten. My research question is, what assessments do we need to be implementing in preschool to ensure that students are ready for the current high demands of kindergarten in this ever-changing world? This topic is important to me because I really seek to meet the needs of individual students, to take them where they are and move them forward using a holistic approach to learning. There are many obstacles to overcome, and I really desire to gain a better understanding of how to evaluate students' readiness so that each student meets and reaches his or her full potential in the kindergarten year. A couple of problems that I considered that caused me to choose this topic are, I see students arrive in kindergarten with varying levels of skills. There seems to be such a wide gap. The skills, for example, being reading, writing, math, behavior, and I'm very passionate to seek out what positive changes can be made at the preschool level to close the gap between preschool and kindergarten. Another problem I see is there is a wide range of preschool essential learner outcomes. It often really depends on what a student's preschool experience entailed. Some went to private schools, some went to public programs, and others had little academic and social interaction before entering preschool. What adjustments can be made to produce common essential learner outcomes and assessments to close this gap? The questions that I seek to gain further understanding on are: 1. What are the current preschool assessments? When looking at this, we need to consider what is the philosophy of most preschool experiences. Is the focus on academics or simply socialization? Is there a gap between the types of preschool experiences students have, or are there simply pros and cons to each experience? And if there is a gap, how wide of a gap is there between private preschools, public preschools, in-home daycares, or at-home experiences? All of these play factors into the preschool assessments. The second question is, what should we be assessing in preschool to ensure success in kindergarten? Should it be formal or informal? Question 3 looks at, are current preschool assessments effectively measuring the necessary criteria needed for kindergarten? In other words, are preschool students ready for kindergarten, and what evidence do we have that supports that? Are there essential learner outcomes already in place at the preschool level? If so, what are they? How much assessment and what types of assessment are developmentally appropriate at a preschool level? And how can public schools K through 12 collaborate with preschool experiences to effectively measure necessary criteria? Question 4 asks, how can we identify at-risk students to ensure early interventions can be implemented? It is essential to make a plan, to start with the end in mind in order to help all students. These are essential questions to see if children are ready to start kindergarten. As I began researching, literacy-based skills proved to be essential at the preschool level. Acquiring well-developed literacy skills is a critically important developmental milestone for children. The research showed that children who are poor readers at a kindergarten level tended to continue to struggle with reading and writing throughout the elementary years. For preschoolers, language-related skills are essential because most preschoolers are not yet reading. It is imperative that preschool experiences are rich in language and vocabulary to build a strong foundation for the K through 12 school years. The research also showed that children arrive in preschool with varying levels of early literacy skills. How can we support parents in the language development needed for their kids to succeed? And lastly, research proved that there are a number of instructional activities that have strong evidence for the positive effects on children's early literacy. We need to make sure we are taking advantage of these opportunities to build a strong language base for kindergarten readiness. We also need to help provide developmentally appropriate assessments and essential learner outcomes to guide instruction at a preschool level. The use of assessments that provide information on children's developmental achievements in key areas of literacy can provide teachers with the information they need to provide an optimal learning experience for children. Of course, assessment is not an end in and of itself. However, accurate assessment can be a powerful tool for gaining information when used correctly. The true power comes when you use the data from these assessments to drive instruction for specific needs for each individual student. Identifying at-risk students early provides many more opportunities for early intervention. Through my research, I found that there are 3 primary forms of assessments that can be used to identify children with specific education needs or to develop education goals. The first one is informal assessment. The second, screening progress monitoring. And the third, diagnostic assessments. It is recommended to use a screening assessment and informal assessments for sake of time to get kids on the radar, but then to follow through with a diagnostic assessment to provide information about a child's specific strengths and weaknesses. We can implement these findings by establishing literacy assessments. By researching what assessments would help us measure performance and growth of literacy at a preschool level, we provide an opportunity for student success throughout school. It is important to bridge preschool and school-age education. By looking at where we want kids to be at the end of kindergarten, we're able to look backwards and connect preschool and school-age education and scaffold developmentally appropriate instruction to see students succeed at a gradual rate. A key point of interest in my research that struck me hard was that research showed children who were poor readers by the end of first grade almost never acquire average level reading skills by the end of elementary school. While this seems disheartening, it did open my eyes to the urgency of developing early literacy skills. I seek to do what I can in the development of gradual growth so that students reach their full potential in the kindergarten year. In summarization, although there are many factors that play into the development of kindergarten readiness, my desire is to see that kids are ready for school, to thrive in the demands of the education system today. The challenge is, there are many factors that affect a student's readiness for kindergarten. Many are out of our control: family situations, poverty, abuse, even lack of vocabulary. But some are in our control. Leading in that category is early literacy. The solution is to develop appropriate assessment tools to monitor and develop children to be successful and ready for school.